Hi guys, welcome back to Clues by Sam. It's Sunday and we don't have an evil one today, sadly, but I'm gonna excuse that because of Monday's weirdness that happened. If you don't know what Clues by Sam is, which I'm pretty sure you do, but in case you don't, it's a daily logic puzzle game where you have 20 people on a board and they may be criminals or innocents and they give you clues to help you figure out what each person is, and you gotta use those clues without doing any guesses. We have a lot of interesting names today. If you want to play the game before watching, you can check the link in the description, but if you just want to watch, I'm going to start right away, so stick around. Well, I'm sure I'm going to butcher some of these words, but bear with me. We start with Olive telling us that no cook has a criminal directly below them, just like yesterday, but the other way around. So Doses is a cook and they can't have a criminal below them. So Hilda is an innocent. That's right? Yeah, innocents. What other cooks do we have there? Bios. Bios can't have a criminal below them, so Floyd is an innocent as well. And we have no other cooks. We have no other cooks on the board, so we don't need Olive's clue anymore. So let's look at Hilda's. Olive has more criminal neighbors than Doses. Doches? I don't know. I really don't know how to say that. But for me, Doses sounds okay. So Olive has more criminal neighbors than them, but we still don't know about any criminal neighbors that Doches has. So let's leave it there. And Floyd tells us that both innocents in column D are connected. So we know for sure that neither Terry or Zoe are innocents because they're not connected to Hilda, who is one of the innocents in column D. And here, either Doses or Nova are gonna be the other innocent. The other one's gonna be a criminal. Now, Terry tells us that Isaac and Logan have 3 innocent neighbors in common. Isaac and Logan have 4 neighbors in common total. 2 of them are already innocents, Floyd and Olive. There's now Ryan and Eris, who need to be the 3rd innocent and the other one a criminal. So let's leave it there. Zoe now tells us that an odd number of innocents on the edges neighbor Hilda. Hilda has 3 neighbors on the edges total. We know about one of them being an innocent and the other one being a criminal. The 3rd one is Celia. If Celia were to be a criminal, Hilda would have an odd number of innocent neighbors. But if Celia were an innocent, then Hilda would have an even number of innocent neighbors. So Celia has to be a criminal. And now Celia tells us there's an odd number of criminals neighboring Isaac. So we know that Isaac's gonna have one criminal neighbor here who's either gonna be Eris or Ryan. So his last neighbor is Logan. If he were a criminal, same situation as Hilda, we just talked about, Logan can't be a criminal, or else Isaac would have an even number of criminal neighbors. So Logan is an innocent. And now Logan tells us that Gabe and Hilda share an odd number of innocent neighbors. Okay, Gabe and Hilda, similar to Isaac and Logan, they share 4 neighbors total. We know that Celia is one of them and she's a criminal. There's Doses and Nova, who are a criminal and an innocent each. And since there has to be an odd number of innocents, if Maria, who is the last one, were to be an innocent, 2 is an even number, so Maria has to be a criminal. And now Maria tells us that Isaac is one of 3 innocents in column A. So since we know that there's going to be only one more innocent here, it all depends on Eris, I think. If he is an innocent, then both Ayan and Uma are going to be criminal. But we still don't know. Isaac now tells us that Zenas is one of Ryan's 5 innocent neighbors. So Zenas is an innocent. Ryan has 5 innocent neighbors. So far, they have 4. Isaac, Logan, Olive, and Zenas. So there's going to be one more here. Now, what else? What else should I know? Oh, we know about Dulce's having more innocent neighbors than someone else? Where's that clue? Where's that clue? Olive. Hilda's telling us that Olive has more criminal neighbors than Dulce's. So that is interesting because Dulce's has one criminal neighbor so far, right? There's no way for Olive to have 3 criminal neighbors because Ryan, or is there? Ryan has one more innocent neighbor. So that means that Steve could be our criminal here, or innocent here, sorry. And then both Uma and Vera would be criminals in this situation. So that Ryan has 5 innocent neighbors. And then Ryan himself could be a criminal, and this way Olive would have more criminal neighbors than Dulce's. But if Gabe is not a criminal, if he's an innocent, then this doesn't matter. So I'm not sure I gotta look there. I think I gotta look somewhere else. So let's look again at the clues. Both innocents in column D are connected. Yeah, we have that set up here. Zenans is one of Ryan's 5 innocent neighbors. Yeah. Isaac's one of 3 innocents in column A. Oh, so do we have to look at that? Ares could be... I guess what we know is that Uma seems to always be a criminal, right? Or maybe not. Maybe not. Not sure about that. Isaac and Logan have 3 innocent neighbors in common. Yeah, we have that set up as well, just like column D. There's an odd number of criminals neighboring Isaac. We've done that. Gabe and Hilda share an odd number of innocent neighbors. We've done that. And no cook has a criminal directly below them. There's no more cooks to look at. So the clues that are dismissed are correctly dismissed. I guess we gotta look at Uma, because if she's an innocent, then both Ares and Ayan have to be criminals, because there's only 3 innocents in column A. And since Ares is a criminal, Ryan has to be an innocent. Now there's no way for Olive to have more criminal neighbors than Dulce's. So Uma has to be a criminal. We know that for sure. And we don't know about Ares and Ayan yet. Oh. Now, Uma tells us there are more criminals than innocents to the right of Olive. There's 3 people to the right of Olive. One of them is already a criminal. Do we have to tag again? I think so. Because one of these people is gonna have to be an innocent, Ryan or Steve. Maybe all of them could be criminals. That could happen as well, because 3 is more than 0. So how would that happen? Or do I have something else to tag or to look at that I haven't thought about yet? Let's look at Ryan, because if Ryan is an innocent, right, Olive still has to have more innocent neighbors than Dulce's. So Vera has to be a criminal if Ryan is an innocent. Now, because there is more criminal neighbors to the right of Olive than innocent neighbors, or people, not neighbors, Steve would have to be a criminal as well, and that breaks Ryan's total of innocent neighbors, because now he only has 4. So Steve couldn't be a criminal. So Ryan can't be an innocent. With that logic. And because Ryan is a criminal, Ares is an innocent. And now we know that An is a criminal, because there's only 3 innocents in column A. Good. And now the one or the other is here, Vera and Steve. Now Ryan tells us that Zenas and Gabe have an equal number of criminal neighbors. Zenas is gonna have 4 criminal neighbors, Terry, Zoe, Ryan, and someone else here, either Steve or Vera, so that's 4. Gabe has to have 4 as well. Gabe so far has Celia and Maria as criminal neighbors, but he's gonna have 1 more here, Dulces or Nova. That's 3. So Bios has to be a criminal as well, to total 4. Now Bios tells us there's an odd number of criminals neighboring Hilda, total. And Hilda so far has Celia and Maria, just like Gabe, but she also has Dulces and Nova, just like Gabe. And that's 3, which is an odd number, so Gabe has to be an innocent. Now Gabe tells us that Hilda and Olive have an equal number of innocent neighbors. And we know the total for Hilda, which is 2, Gabe and someone else here. So Olive will only have 2 as well, which means that Vera is a criminal. And that tells us that Steve is an innocent. And Steve tells us that Nova is not a criminal, so Nova is an innocent. And because of that, Dulces is criminal. Good. Took a little more thought than I thought it was going to take, but it was really nice. I love it. And a nice short one for Sunday, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did play, let me know how it went for you. I love to talk about that, and I will be back tomorrow with more Clues by Sam. If you want to see that, subscribe, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.